All right, welcome to another audio-only episode. I'm really happy you want to spend some time with me. These audio episodes are still kind of weird to me because I'm used to doing quick cut videos that are maybe 7.5 minutes long. That's kind of my ideal length, I find, for viewer interest. Anything longer than that, people kind of fade out, myself included. I don't really watch super long YouTube videos. But, once in a while I do, but I usually watch them in 7.5 or 8 or maybe 10-minute chunks. And I don't really like doing super short videos because it just kind of leaves you wanting more. It's like, well, great, I have 45-second overview of Redbubble. That's not super helpful either. So this is really designed if you're maybe driving in a car or a truck, maybe you're hang gliding, maybe you're operating a space shuttle and you're looking at the dashboard. You need to pay attention, but you want to still listen to something, right? So this is really designed, maybe if you're vacuuming, that kind of thing, in all seriousness. So I've gotten some good feedback over the past few months, and the channel really has taken off. And so I wanted to take time in this podcast to answer some questions that people have asked either through email or through Facebook or just through the comments section. And I think it's not intuitive to me to talk about myself. I really set up the channel to be about you and to be about your print-on-demand journey, or if you're watching Crafty Stacks, to set up digital designs and passive income. That's really the whole point of the value that I'm trying to provide. And it could, it doesn't necessarily have to be t-shirts. It could be printing books, or it could be even authoring books. It doesn't even need to be necessarily print on demand. So I'm going to do my best here to answer these questions. And I want to point out that I'm going to start off with the first question is, why was my comment deleted? I get this a little bit once in a while. And I want to point out, I don't ever delete YouTube comments. The only time, and I'll throw a little asterisk and a little caveat, the only time I actually delete a YouTube comment is if it's so profanity-laced, hate-filled tirade, or if it's spam. So if there's like a link like, sexy girls now click here, it's like, it's probably not related to my video. So I'm not going to click the link. I don't need the Nigerian prince to take my $10,000. So I'm going to delete that comment. So it's mostly just to keep the channel somewhat clean and legitimate. But I want to point out that if you disagree with a point that I'm making, my default setting is not to be defensive. It's actually to be curious. Because look, the world's a huge place. There's 7 billion people on the planet, 8 billion people on the planet. There's all these different countries. There's like 200 countries. So I'm not qualified to say that your experience is incorrect. So I welcome a differing opinion. I happen to think Redbubble is a great tool for beginners, but I've had other people say it's complete garbage. They hate it. Great. Let me know why. I don't have a problem with hearing other people's opinions. So some of the questions that we're going to go through here, they're not necessarily super positive in tone, but that's okay. And I just want to let you guys know I'm not going to delete out a comment if you disagree with it. So to answer that first question, people say, why was my comment deleted? It probably wasn't. Maybe you didn't hit the post button, or maybe a squirrel bit the power line for your internet and that's why it didn't post. I have no idea. But if you posted a comment, I will definitely read it. I do my best to try to read the comments. And I also do my best to read my emails. I get hundreds of emails, so I do my best anyway. But I'm not ignoring anyone or trying to shadow ban anyone, because having a differing opinion to me is actually a great thing that makes the world go around. So that's pretty cool. All right, so I'm going to jump in here. I've got 10 questions that I'm going to try to answer here in this podcast. So let's jump in here. All right, first question. Hey Zen, love the channel. What advice do you have for anyone who is just starting out selling digital designs or print on demand? There are so many options that it can be overwhelming. Okay, so this is a great question. And I think that this is also true even if you're not a beginner. If you're a veteran, it can be overwhelming, because really all that happens, and anyone who plays a video game I think can relate to this, you just level up. And so you become a beginner in the new level. So like, for example, I'll use Displate as an example to me, because I've been on Displate for a number of years. And I think by any visible metric, I'm doing pretty good on Displate, hashtag humble brag. But I make enough money on Displate each year to basically buy a brand new car if I need to. I don't want to buy a brand new car. I'm not Jay Leno. I don't have 45 cars. But I'm just saying I can travel to Europe. I live in Canada. I did my last vacation to Mexico. It was all based on print-on-demand money. So I don't say that to be braggy. And it's not intuitive to me to talk about this. But when I hear people say, print on demand is, a big con and nobody can make any realistic money, it's like, well, I know that's not true because I keep getting paid every month by these different companies. And, Displate pays me, Merch by Amazon pays me, Amazon KDP pays me. I use BookBolt, I use Kindle. So these are things that are real things. So I just find it funny when people say you can't, it's impossible to do this. And I'm personally living proof that you can do it. Now, is it easy? Absolutely not. It's actually really hard. The way I've always viewed print on demand in general, and so this is my advice for a beginner, is to have a long-term mindset, to go into it with, say, a book publishing mindset. Now, I don't mean that in the sense that you're going to be publishing books. What I mean is, imagine if you wrote a novel, for example, like Stephen King. Okay, he's a big-time author. If you're under 40 years old, you might not know who Stephen King is, but anyway, he's a big-time author. But pick any author, Harry Potter, J.K. Rowling, whatever. When they write a book, they're writing a book for the hopes that it's going to sit on someone's bookshelf and get a purchase today, get a purchase next week, next month, next year, 10 years down the road. So the whole point of publishing a book is that it stays in the digital farm. It sits on the internet, and somebody somewhere is going to buy one of your print-on-demand designs perhaps years after you've published it. So I don't necessarily upload 30 designs and then sit there and go, I don't understand why anyone's purchased anything. That's not the way it works. I just focus on uploads. So this is my number one piece of advice, is just focus on quantity. Your quality will get better over time. I know you can say, well, it's a big waste of time because my first 200 uploads are going to be complete garbage. Maybe. I mean, my first 200 uploads were not great either. But somebody somewhere along the way has bought something that I've uploaded that I didn't think was that great in hindsight, if I'm being perfectly honest. But then again, I also make print-on-demand designs that I never would personally buy. And I'll use a real-life example because I don't want to be super vague here. I'm not an overly boisterous person at, say, a house party. I don't want to walk in with the lampshade on my head to try to get everyone's attention. So I don't normally I don't really own any t-shirts with really what I would call like controversial sayings. An example would be like, grade A beef and then a big arrow pointed down at my crotch. It's like, well, I'm not going to be wearing that shirt at a house party. But I know people who, when they see that shirt, they burst into tears. They think this is so funny. Oh my God, I have to buy this thing immediately. So I've made that shirt and I've sold that shirt, but I'm not going to buy that shirt for myself. But who am I to say if somebody else doesn't really like that shirt? It's the same thing. You get pretty good at walking around the Walmart or walking around Disneyland or walking around the park, and you just kind of look at what other people are wearing. And you kind of just go, oh, that's interesting. They've bought that shirt. Unless it's just a plain white shirt, they've bought a shirt with some sort of pattern, some sort of color on it, some sort of text. And it's like, oh, interesting. They've thought that's good enough to wear outside of the house. Great. So knowing that that's true, I've kind of given up judging people. And I've mostly just said, you know what? If they like it, or if there's a potential that they like it, I'll make it. Now, I want to point out, this does not mean I'm creating shirts with swastikas and naked ladies all over it. Like I'm not talking about stuff that's obviously offensive. I'm talking about items that could be perceived maybe as a tiny bit naughty, and you personally wouldn't wear it, but that's not to say that somebody else wouldn't. So that's probably my first piece of advice, is to pick one platform and then just, upload as many designs as you can onto that platform and not really worry about the sales. That's not your metric. All right, let's jump into the second question here. Second question number 2. What is the best software to use for print on demand? Okay, so this is a tough question because I don't know you personally, although you seem like a very nice person, and I would hazard a guess that everybody's got different skill sets. So if you're looking for something that is like quote unquote the best, for me personally, I really like using Photoshop. Now I've got 2 types of Photoshop. I've got CS2. So Photoshop CS2 means it's like super old, and it's not a hugely popular software anymore, but that's the one I'm comfortable using. I grew up using it. I'm pretty good at it. I know where all the buttons are. So I can spend more time having fun creating than necessarily learning all these new techniques. Now, that having been said, I do have Photoshop Elements as well, which is a newer Photoshop version. And I'm learning how to use it. I use it occasionally because it's got some really cool new features on it. And I'm sure over time I'll just get more comfortable with it. So to me, that's the best software because it's, to me, it's the highest end. However, Affinity Photo is very good as well. And if you're looking for a free option, there's nothing wrong with Inkscape. I think Inkscape is a great download as well. And I use all of them a lot. Now, in terms of other programs that you could use, it really comes down to personal preference. So I get this question a lot. Hey, bro, I don't have a computer. I've only got a phone. And I don't have any software experience. I've never learned any software. And I don't have any free time because I have 4 jobs and 15 children. And it's like, well, what do you want me to say, right? Like, you need to kind of learn something. It would be like if you were a musician and it was like, well, I've never learned how to play guitar and I can't sing. So can I make millions in a rock band? It's like, probably not. Sorry to be so negative, but you'd need to learn how to play at least the bare minimum of the instrument. So I would encourage you to pick one program. It doesn't really matter what it is. Affinity Photo, Photoshop, Inkscape, something like that. Even something online like Photopea, you could have, just dedicate some time to it. And what I sometimes do when I'm learning a new program is I watch TV. So I'll listen, maybe it's an interview show. So I'm not like super, fixated on the show or a stand-up comedy special. And what I do is I just piddle around on the program. I just spend an hour kind of screwing around on it. I try to make designs that maybe on purpose don't look that good. I try to stretch things out. I try to see what I can do, morph the pictures, invert them on purpose, just to see what's going on. I have no expectation that after the hour I have any output, but I've just learned, and it's just sort of like practicing your scales if you're playing piano or bass or guitar. So anyway, I hope that helps. I like a lot of different software. Third question here. You say that you make big money in print on demand. Show us your accounts. Okay. So this is a kind of a contentious issue. And I think there's 2 types of people on YouTube, if I can generalize the entire population of the earth for a second. I think that the first type of people, they go into it with a mindset that everyone's trying to scam them. And that if I'm giving advice, it's because I'm a complete fraud. And, there's nothing really I can do about that. I mean, even if I show the accounts, even if I go, okay, here's how much I got paid by Redbubble, here's how much I got paid by Display, I feel like the options would then be limited farther, where they would say, well, but I know somebody who makes more than you, and therefore, this is all crappy advice. And I'm going, well, to me, even if you make like $50 a month on a platform, it's $50 a month that someone's paying you to do your hobby. So to me, the advice is legitimate just from a lifestyle perspective. You can enjoy working on print on demand and maybe make 1 sale a month. Because lots of people, you think about all the other hobbies in the world, right? Ultimate Frisbee, knitting, I like to ride my bicycle, whatever it is. Well, they don't pay you at all to do those things. You could do those. I could ride my bike for 18 years. No one's going to pay me money to watch me ride a bicycle. So to me, the fact that anyone is paying me ever to do print on demand is just unbelievable to me. Now, I'll admit on Display I've made some really good sales. And so, and I have those videos on YouTube to try to satisfy this section of the audience. So I've got 10,000 disc plates sold, 15,000 disc plates sold, coming out with a 20,000 disc plates sold here soon. Might already be up if you're listening to this obviously in the future. But I'm not huge into showing off my earnings because my point is it's just me bragging about my earnings. Like that's kind of how I look at it. So again, it's personal preference. Other people really like those types of videos, and I certainly don't want to put anyone down who's making those types of videos. Hey, great. Enjoy those types of videos. That's what YouTube, that's the beauty of YouTube, is there's something for everyone out there. So to me, I can say that I easily make $1,000 a month in print on demand as a combination of Amazon, Display, Redbubble, TeePublic. Those are usually my big 4. And combined, in a bad month, I make well over $1,000. In a good month, like near Christmas, I've made $8,000, $9,000 in a month because it's the Christmas season, right? That would be October, November, December. Now, I want to say, if you don't believe me, then nothing I'm going to say here is really going to change your mind. I didn't set up the YouTube channel to get validation from me. I don't particularly care if somebody doesn't like me or my information that I'm putting out. It doesn't really bother me. I can handle negative feedback quite well. So to me, I would say I really have tried hard to focus the channel on you and say, okay, look, if you're at the point where you're making $10 a month and you want to make $20 a month, I can help you do that. If you're at the point where you're making $1,000 a month and you want to make $2,000 a month, I can do that. So in that sense, the amount of money that any one person is making, myself included, is kind of irrelevant. Okay, next question here. I love the channel. You should sell a course. I would pay to take the course. Yeah, I get this question a little bit once in a while, and I'm flattered. I think that's cool that they want to pay money. What I did do to try to satisfy this demographic is I did write a book. It's called Print on Demand Secrets. It's on Amazon. If you type in Print on Demand Secrets or Zen Watercooler, hopefully it'll pop up. To me, that's the closest I think I'm ever going to get to having a course that is for sale. And it's not that I'm against it. To me, it's just a huge time and investment that I don't really want to do at this stage of my life. And the other thing is, I don't really think print on demand is so complicated that it warrants a course. If I'm just being brutally honest, I'll tell you right now for free what print on demand really is. Print on demand is really three things. It's creating a lot of designs, so quantity. It's creating high quality designs, so quality. And it's targeting niches that have low supply and high demand, relatively speaking. That's it. That's the entire course. You're welcome. So, if you want to pay me $2,000, go ahead. But to me, that is the entire course. So it's just a matter of doing it then. And, 90% of life is really, the success is showing up. It's doing it, right? I remember when I first started this YouTube channel and I had no subscribers, 0. And I thought, well, the only way to get my message out there is to make videos. And look, the first ones that I made were pretty bad. I was reading a script. I was literally doing slides that I would, off an iPhone. I had no idea how to make a video, but I learned over time, right? And hopefully the videos are getting better as I go along, and they'll continue to get better. It's the same thing with print on demand, or if you're selling digital designs, you're going to get better over time as well. So to me, if you follow those three things, basically it's niches, quality, and quantity. If you're not making sales, one of those three things, at least one of those three things, is not firing on all cylinders. And usually, to be perfectly blunt, it's niches. You might be in a niche that's not it's too competitive. There's just not enough space in there for your talents to shine through. And there's nothing insulting about that. It's just pick a different niche. So there's lots of weird, obscure niches that I sell my designs in. And, again, like an example would be map designs, right? Map designs is a huge niche. So you might think, well, it's totally full. Nobody wants to buy a map on a t-shirt. I disagree. I've sold lots of map designs on t-shirts. But the appeal of a map design is the actual location of of where the person is. So if you pick some rinky-dink little tiny farm town in your country and you make a couple t-shirts, 3, 4, 5, 8 t-shirts, you might sell one. Now, the mindset of this could be, wonderful, I just made a sale. Or the mindset could be, yeah, but that's not going to be a bestseller. If your mindset is it's not going to be a bestseller, then you're probably not cut out for print on demand. Because the way you make a lot of sales over a lot of time is you create a store that's branded as the something store, the map store, the flag store, the soccer store, the good-looking girl store, the hunky guy store, whatever it is, the rude design store, it doesn't matter. But you brand your store so that people are going to favorite your store and they're going to come back every time they want a design that's like that. I've seen some pretty mundane stores that are making some great sales, and that's not an insult. They've worked really hard at finding a niche. Could be something as obscure as vintage watercolor paintings. You might think, well, who's going to buy that? Don't know, don't care, but there's lots of people out there that really like vintage watercolor, and so that could be a great niche. So I encourage you to really focus on the niche work as you continue to upload and find a niche that you actually enjoy, and then you can make lots of designs, high quality designs in that niche. Okay, next question as we're chugging right along here. Question number 5. I get this comment once in a while when I do either paid sponsorships or affiliate marketing. The comment is a variation of the following. I am disappointed. This video is a paid advertisement. So I want to respond to this because, again, I don't delete comments on YouTube. I don't want to ever think anybody is not allowed to disagree. To me, there's the challenge of having a YouTube channel that has 10,000 subscribers, 100,000 subscribers, 1 million subscribers, is that you're going to get a huge audience that is a wide, disparate audience. So some people don't ever want to pay for anything ever. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. There's other people that are willing to part with a few dollars a month to get a massive leveling up in their print on demand. So I'll use an example like Creative Fabrica, for example. Creative Fabrica, to me, and this is, I'm not advertising them, this is my honest opinion, Creative Fabrica to me is such a no-brainer that I'm honestly confused why more people don't take advantage of it. For about $5 a month, you get access to over 1 million designs, and there's more stuff pouring in every month. So to me, like if you can't make $5 in sales a month on print on demand, then you're probably doing something wrong, because that's basically 2 sales a month, which if you upload 1,000 designs onto Redbubble and they're of decent quality, even if you don't have any niche work done, you're probably going to make 2 sales a month. So to me, that's paid for the Creative Fabrica subscription right there. So I get this comment once in a while. Somebody commented, you know, I can't believe that, you know, Creative Fabrica, they want to charge money for this. And it's like, well, right. I mean, there's lots of free options online too, but the convenience of having professionally done designs that are available for download anytime, day or night, and there's an unlimited amount, to me, that's a huge leveling up. Now, that's my opinion. So if you don't like spending any money at all, then a lot of my videos aren't really going to make a lot of sense. I get 2 types of requests on YouTube. One is from a complete beginner that has no money, and the other type of request is from somebody who has money and has reached a level of, say, intermediate success, and they want to really push through to the next level. Perhaps they want to quit their job, they want to become semi-retired, that sort of thing. Well, you're going to have to invest a couple dollars if you want to do that, right? So I'm trying to satisfy all clients here, and so part of the clientele, they're asking for leveling up, and of course that's going to cost money in the sense that you'd have to pay for some sort of a subscription. Okay, let's take a look here at the next question. The next question is regarding public domain videos. Okay, so this if you're wondering what I'm talking about when I mentioned the second channel, there's a Zen Watercooler channel, and that's really a print on demand channel. That's the one you're listening to right now. But I have a second channel. So hopefully your eyes have lit up with the catnip, going, oh my God, there's another channel. Yes, I've got another channel. It's called Crafty Stacks, Crafty and then STAX. And that's my second channel. It's a whole different channel. It's all me. It's all digital designs and deep dives on graphic design. And there's lots of design, tutorials. But I've also got a lot of public domain videos on that channel as well. So an example would be like, here's 15,000 maps and they're all free. Or here's 100,000 paintings and they're all free. That kind of thing. And so I show you like where to go to download these designs. So the problem I run into is that there is an element of the public, a segment of the public that don't like public domain videos for some reason. I'm not sure why. So I think they're thinking that people are stealing these, the Mona Lisa, and they're putting it on a t-shirt, and they're like, well, why should Jerry in Ohio profit off of Leonardo da Vinci's masterpiece? It's offensive. And I guess, I can kind of see the argument in the sense that Jerry, the guy in Ohio, didn't paint the Mona Lisa. Like, that is a factual piece of information. But Jerry took a public domain asset, and public domain, by the way, just means there's no copyright restrictions. There's no trademark restrictions. Basically, it's been entered into the public domain, meaning if you're a member of the public, which we all are, you're actually an owner of this document. You can use it as if you owned it. So I love public domain. Most of my sales, I think it's fair to say at least half of my sales come from some sort of public domain asset. Now, there's really a couple ways that you can sell public domain. You can either just sell it straight on. So you take a picture of the Mona Lisa and you just either digitally clean it up, or you crop it a tiny bit, or you just leave it as is literally and put it on a t-shirt and sell the t-shirt. Now, I want to point out there's a downside to this, that if you just take a public domain picture and you upload it to a site like Redbubble or TeePublic, if someone else has also uploaded the exact same design, then you could get a copyright strike. Now, you might say, well, hold on here, Zen. You just told me there is no copyright restrictions. Correct, but Redbubble has a policy where you can't have duplicate designs. You can't just take another design and just pop it onto your page and go, well, no, I'm going to sell this too. So I would encourage you that if you're using public domain assets, that you somehow change it. So just a quick example would be you take the Mona Lisa, you put a circle on top of it, and you basically do a layer mask where now the Mona Lisa picture is a circle. And then you put that on a t-shirt. It's the exact same picture. You've just cropped it, basically. That's a different element. So you could then sell that. So that's just an example. So, I've done that in the past. You take public domain images and you change them a tiny bit, and then, or you could do something wild. You could put sunglasses on the Mona Lisa, or you could have her wearing a COVID mask, or you could have funny text underneath. There's all sorts of things, right? I saw one where it was the Mona Lisa, but instead of the Mona Lisa, they'd somehow merged a cat's face onto the Mona Lisa, and then underneath it had a caption that said "Moaning Lisa," and the cat was like caterwauling. I mean, look, am I going to wear that? Probably not. But if somebody's a big cat person, hey, that's kind of cool. So there's something for everybody out there. So all I can say is, public domain legally is totally fine. There's no issues with public domain videos from a legal perspective. So you're absolutely not stealing when you're using a public domain asset. Now, morally, my attitude is if you don't want to use public domain assets, then don't use them. But to scream and yell at somebody else for using them, I don't know, that just seems weird to me. I think it's kind of a snobby attitude. It's kind of like people who put down other types of music. It's like, well, who am I to say? I don't particularly like rap music, for example. I grew up listening to 80s rock, 90s rock. So I'm not a big rap guy. But that's okay. I mean, I'm certainly not going to put down rap. If somebody else wants to listen to it and they love it, well, who am I to say that that's wrong? I also really like disco music, for example. Now, if anybody's laughing on this podcast going, oh my God, I can't believe he likes disco. But what do you care? Like, it's not a big deal. I happen to really like disco music. So to me, it's like, I'm not in the place of authority to say this music's good or bad. To me, you just talk about what you like, and everybody likes different things. All right, next question here. Question number 7. We've got, hey Zen, can you review my shop? So I get this a lot when I do shop review videos. I have to admit, I haven't done as many shop review videos as I have in the past. And the reason for this is because after a while, I've kind of said all there is to say about the shop. So I can go through the shop and I can say the same things I've said before. Got to increase the quality of the designs. You have to increase the quantity of the designs. Your niches are really popular and you need to find more tiny niches. Or you found niches that literally no one cares about. Like, sorry, but you're not going to sell a lot of Ohio plumber t-shirts on a site like Redbubble. So maybe branch out and have different plumber, cities, like that kind of thing, right? So I've kind of said all I can say on that, but as I find more maybe unique takes on it, then I might do a few more review shop videos. So what I would encourage you to do is if you've got a shop open and you really want my opinion, check out the videos on the channel, on the Zen Watercooler channel, because if I'm reviewing a shop, even though it's not your shop, the advice is probably going to hold true for you, especially if you're a beginner. Okay, question number 8. I love this channel. How come you never show your face? Okay, so this is a very interesting question. So when I first started out, I didn't think anybody cared. And I'm not a YouTube expert like 4 years ago. So I didn't do a bunch of niche research in advance. I didn't look at a bunch of other videos and go, okay, I'm going to copy this style. I just really like watching tutorials on how to do things. And it never honestly occurred to me if someone is showing their face or not. So if someone's obviously doing like an electrician tutorial, here's how to change a light bulb or, replace the wiring in your home. Okay, they're probably going to have to show their face because there's a camera on them doing manual work. But for things like Photoshop tutorials or Inkscape tutorials, I didn't really see the value, to be honest with you. Having me looking down the barrel of a lens going, here's what you need to do. I think most people are interested in seeing what I'm doing on Photoshop or Inkscape. So it just never came up. So I'm not horribly disfigured. I'm also not Brad Pitt, probably. I don't know. I like to think I'm a relatively attractive person. Who knows? But at the end of the day, I really wanted to focus my channel on you. And I find it distasteful to have the channel be about me. Even as I'm talking about this, I'm kind of cringing because it's like, does anybody really care what my opinion is on this? Like, I don't really think that's that big of a deal. I can tell you that if I reach the age of retirement and I'm still doing this, I'll probably show my face. If I had 1 million subscribers, I'll show my face because at that point I can probably quit my job. I've always thought it was weird that people want to meet me, or people have kind of, I don't know, the really weird one is when people are like flirting online and they're like, oh my goodness, this guy's voice is, I'd love to meet this guy and go for a coffee. I mean, it's flattering, but it's like, I'm just a normal guy. So to me, the whole thing has been kind of strange that I've received any sort of celebrity feedback. It's just so not intuitive to me. So I'm not overly secretive, I'm not trying to be some, crazy privacy guy that's worried about stalkers in the hedges. It's like, I'm not going to the grocery store yelling no paparazzi. Like I know that I'm just a regular schmo. I do have Zen Watercooler merchandise that I actually wear myself. So if you ever see somebody walking around your hometown with a Zen Watercooler baseball cap on, it might be me. Come on up and say hello. Who knows? All right, last question here. Question number 10. We've got, I don't have any money. What are the best free options for leveling up my print-on-demand graphic skills? Yeah, so this is a really good question. And look, there's no shame in not having any money. That's totally fine. I mean, hey, if you're trying to get into print-on-demand, then I would ask, just have an honest conversation with yourself. What are the reasons you're getting into print-on-demand? I get the occasional email from people that say, hey, Zen, I've lost my job and I've got a sick family member and I need money. I need to make $1,000 a month. So I saw your video on making $1,000 a month, and can you help me make $1,000 a month? And it's like, well, yeah, but that's kind of like the equivalent of saying, okay, I've lost my job. I'm going to go on the road and become a musician. Can you teach me how to play the guitar, write some songs, get a band together, and we're going to go do gigs and make $1,000 a month? It's like, right. You're not going to do that in the next 30 days. It's going to take you probably a year to get up to $1,000 a month if you're working on it like practically full time, or if you get lucky. And I don't want to discount that. I can remember very vividly sitting on the couch watching a football game. I uploaded a design onto Displate, and it's since become like literally a top 10 best-selling design on Displate. So when you go to like the Displate main page, like it's right there. So I sell at least 15, 20 Displates a day. Same thing with Redbubble. I've got a couple designs that are like right on the main page. So I get like regular sales. Now I lucked out, right? Because sometimes the design hits and other people like it and it maybe gets promoted. So I don't want to discount the luck factor. I just don't want you to rely on it, because it sounds like if you need $1,000 a month because of medical bills, print on demand is not necessarily going to be a home run slam dunk guarantee. What I would rather the mindset be, and I know, look, life happens, so I'm not trying to discount, I'm not going to put down anyone who's got a sick family member. I'm just saying I want to be realistic about expectations here. Usually, you can find more success in the following way. You have a job or you have some sort of income. You enjoy doing print on demand, and that's key. You really like sitting down and doing graphic design, looking through print on demand images. You really like monkeying around with Photoshop or Inkscape. You actually enjoy it. And then you find out, holy moly, I can actually make some money selling these designs. Like, whoa, like that's really cool. So if that's the case, then I think that's a great fit for print on demand, because the first few months, you're not going to make any sales. It's just not going to happen, but you need to push through. I've got a friend of mine working on BookBolt right now, and they're really excited about it. They love using BookBolt, and BookBolt's a piece of software that you can subscribe to where you can easily create low content books and then you upload them onto Amazon KDP. So I've been using BookBolt for a long time, and I've been on Amazon KDP for, years, back when they were known as CreateSpace, like years and years and years. And so I've got books published that I make sales on. They're like quote unquote real books that I've written. It's taken me like a year to write these books. So I'm well aware of how Amazon works. But my friend is new to this whole thing, right? So they've uploaded 20 books, low content books, and they're like, well, how come I'm not getting any sales? It's like, no, you need to upload like 500 books onto Amazon KDP. And then you're going to start seeing some sales. Now, as you make sales, the algorithm will reward you because you're going to move up in the search rankings. Your authorship is going to become more legitimate in the eyes of the algorithm. And so what happens is you move up over time, but it's all front end loaded. It would be the equivalent of having a job and someone says, okay, you got to work for a whole year and then we're going to pay you one paycheck at the end of the year. It's like, whoa. Like if that really terrifies you or if that's a real turnoff, then you probably are not cut out for print on demand because you're going to do a ton of work and then get kind of paid near the end. Like Display's a great example for me. I make over $1,000 a month and there's lots of months I don't upload anything. I do zero work and then I get paid like here's $1,400 or here's $1,800. And it's like, oh, that was kind of cool. So it's encouraging when you get paid and you want to work more on those things that are working well. But, you know, Redbubble, Merch by Amazon, these are like really big investments of time. And, you know, any print on demand is, even if you set up your own website and if you set up an Etsy shop. So to answer the question here, I don't have any money. What are my best free options for leveling up my print on demand graphic design skills? I would say there's a couple options. You could buy an old version of Photoshop on eBay. So you could spend $50, $60. If you have, like, say, $100, you could go into eBay and buy graphics design software that's not subscription-based, like an old version of Photoshop. And, you know, buyer beware because there's scams out there. But if you actually get your hands on a legitimate copy at, say, a flea market or a Cash Converters, which is like a pawn shop, you know, that sort of thing, hey, great, go for it. I like Inkscape a lot because it's free. And there's also Photopea online, which is free. So you just go to photopea.com and it's PEA at the end, like photopea.com. They're like a free Photoshop alternative. So there's nothing wrong with that. If you have a little bit of money and you're starting to get some success, so maybe you're making, say, $50 a month on Redbubble, $100 a month on Redbubble, I highly, highly recommend purchasing a subscription to either Vexels or Creative Fabrica or Kittl. Those are the big three that I use quite a bit, and they're all awesome. And, you know, the thing I love about Kittl is it's fast. You can upload a template, or like you can basically use a template, and then you can just create variants off of it. So easily within an hour, you could have 10 completely different t-shirt designs that you can then upload to Redbubble. And it's just sort of rinse and repeat. And it's more fun because you're not really worried about the technical aspects of it. Kittl's really, really good to use. So anyway, check out my videos on my channel for Kittl. It's Kittl is the name of the company. Okay, so that concludes the question and answers. I really hope you found this helpful. I do like hearing from you. And so I'll just close by just saying this. When I first started the channel, and this is kind of an embarrassing story, but when I first started the YouTube channel, I was really anxious and nervous about people's feedback because I just assumed everybody on YouTube was a troll and everybody hated, you know, me and they're going to call me names. And I just thought, oh, I don't need this stress. So I actually turned off the comments when I first started publishing videos. So like my first 10 videos that went up, you didn't even have the option to leave a comment, which now kind of in hindsight is kind of funny because, you know, you get thick skin over the years and it's kind of like, okay, I know I'm good at print on demand. I know that I'm a good person. I know my heart's in the right place. So if somebody doesn't like it, it's kind of more of a reflection on them than it is on me. But when I was first starting out, I didn't know this at all. So I was so nervous. And what was happening is I accidentally left the comment button like active on one of the videos. And all of a sudden, like 10 comments poured in on this one video about the other video. They were legitimate questions. And it was like, hey, how come I can't leave a comment on the other video, but I got a question about this, I got a question about that. And it was a real eye-opener for me. It was like, oh, the vast majority of people on YouTube or the vast majority of people in life are just trying to figure stuff out. They're just trying to get through life. They want some success. They want some validation that what they're doing is right. And, you know, I don't want to discount this piece either. They just want some connection too. And there's nothing wrong with that. I've really leaned into the comments on YouTube. I really like hearing from you. I actually check the comments, not because I have to, but because I want to. And I really like interacting with people from all over the world. I've gotten comments from Syria and Sweden and South America, Australia. I never in a million years thought that I would have that relationship with you guys. I was sitting in an airport. I came back from Mexico City and I had a connector flight back home. So I was sitting in an airport And I had about 3 hours to kill and, free Wi-Fi at the airport. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to check comments at, YouTube comments. So I'm sitting at my gate waiting for my flight. I'm like, got an hour to kill. And I'm looking on through my laptop, reading these comments. And it really struck me, maybe because I was in the airport, but it really struck me. Like, there's friends, for lack of a better word. There's like people that are my friends online all over the world that actually like what I'm doing and value what I'm doing. And I'm just like blown away by that. So I just want to say a very sincere thank you. Yeah, I never, ever in a million years thought that anybody would remotely care about me as a person in the sense of print on demand. And that's not me playing the violin like, oh, I'm so sad sack. I just mean it. I know I'm a nice person. I got lots of friends. It just never occurred to me that strangers from all over the world would ever reach out to me with true gratitude. That just blew my mind. So I just want to say thank you. YouTube for me has been a great experience, and I'm going to hopefully keep doing it for a long, long time. But I only mention that in that if you've got anxiety about leaving a comment, hey, go for it. I'm your friend, and I love having a coffee with you on these podcasts because I feel like I'm talking to someone who's got a shared interest. It's print on demand. There's no shame in wanting to make some money online and bettering your life the way I've bettered mine and continue to better my life. There's nothing wrong with trying to grow and change and become a better person and a better artist and make some money. I think it's awesome. So I'm really glad that we have this connection, and I really value our time together. So on that note, I will wrap it up here. And if you like this, throw me a like if you don't mind. And I'd love it if you haven't subscribed yet. I'd love it if you subscribe. And we'll talk soon. Thanks very much, everybody. Take care.